Alright, today we're going to tie our walls all together. So, obviously you should have 4 walls, but now I'm going to have the front facing out at me. So that's the door. And then in the back, we should have the window. Right, and then I've got my 2 sides. Alright, so this is going to be a balancing act, but one thing, now the reason we doubled up the studs here is so when we put the sidewalls on, we can glue this full stud to the side wall here, okay? So they double them up so you have a lot of surface that you can connect them, right? Now, here's how we can do that. You're gonna need glue and your pins. Now, you need to make sure your header is up, right? So I'm gonna put glue on this side. I'm gonna put glue on this side. I'm actually gonna end up putting pins through the side of the wall. Maybe, we'll see. All right, so I'm gonna glue those together. And I'm gonna stand it up now. Okay, so you wanna try to make that as close to a 90 as you can. I've got my pins open. I'm gonna put some pins in the bottom so that can't shift out. Right, and I'm gonna put some pins in the back so that can't move. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same for the side wall here. Alright, so this is why it's important that all your studs were cut to the same height, because now that we put them together, we need our double top plates to be able to lay flat. Also, starting next week, we'll start adding our trusses in. Okay, so you want to try to make sure that's making a nice straight edge, and it's a nice straight edge all the way down the side. And then we can do the same thing for the front. Now, again, you're making sure your header, so the door header, is up. All right, so I've got glue. Tipping it up. Now, depending where you put your pins, I didn't keep mine square. So I'm going to remove those while I glue this together. So you want to make sure that joint from the front, it's being pushed back, so it's keeping that glue connection tight and closed. And then from the sides, you want to make sure they're even. Okay, so it's hard to get pressure up here. If you want, you can try to drive the pin in. Just make sure you're not going to hit your finger if it glances out the side. Right, I don't know how well you can see that, but I put a pin through it. So if that helps you keep those top corners closed, you can do that. Just make sure your hand's out of the way so when it glances out the side or from the front, it's not going to hit your hand. Right, that one actually stayed fairly well. Same with back here. Okay, so if you take a look at my bottom, notice how I'm opening up. I'm gonna put a pin through there also to see if it can hold itself a little bit tighter. Okay, so that looks like it's held together well. Now, to get the top plates, so I printed out my drawing so we could talk about this really quick. Okay, so based on what we drew in class the other day, there we go. Right, this is my front. So I have my door, I have my window. Now, the way the walls overlap, when we put our top plates on, we want them to overlap where it's touching all three walls. If we put our top plate on the back wall and overlapped them this way, it's not doing anything other than just resting on this back. We want to put them across our side walls, so it's going to hold together the corners with the side wall. Okay, so we're hitting all three, we're hitting 3 out of the 4 walls. Right, and then the same thing over here. We're gonna put one more. Looking back at the plan, they don't actually have you create 2 for here. Now, in a house, you most likely would, because it also serves as like a drywall backing. So our last step to finish off the framing of the house, the framing of the walls. Next week we're going to take a look at the roof. Okay. I'm putting glue on my top plate, on my double top plate, and then I'm putting them so they're over the side walls. And the fact that we already cut them to length, that's the only place they're going to fit. So that's holding those corners together. And I'm going to do that one more time for the right hand side over here. So your job is to make sure everything stays square. So the double top plate here should stretch from the front wall with the door all the way to the back wall with the window, right? And those should be square, meaning the edge of your top plate should be flush with the edge of the back wall, right? And on the sides, they need to be flush as well. So they need to be even. Because what would happen is if we had drywall for the insides or wall sheathing for the outside, it's going to stand up, right, from the studs all the way to the double top plate. So that needs to be smooth, right? If it's wavy or bumpy, that's going to in turn make those wavy or bumpy. So you would see that on your siding. Next week we'll start the trusses.